Really? You've been living at your parents' place since the divorce.
Living with your parents means you're still single, right? Sorry for rubbing our happiness in your face like this. Oh, that's right. Give us a wedding gift. Celebrate with us that we're having a baby, will you?
Don't be so cruel. But seriously, you've aged. You look like an old lady now. Wait, you're 39 this year. Breaking up was the right decision.
10 years ago, my husband left me for my younger sister, who is 5 years younger than me. That sister and her husband came to our parents' house because they were expecting a child. My sister, rubbing her big belly, and my ex-husband, patting the head of their child, were blatantly showing off their happiness. I've moved on from what happened 10 years ago. I'm fine with not being married anymore, so don't think your actions will make me feel bitter.
Don't put on such a brave face.
I'm not pretending. People have different values, right? My values have changed, and I've decided to live for my work instead of getting married or having kids. My career is going well now, and I feel very fulfilled.
You should just admit you're jealous. You, a hired nail technician, saying your work is going well, feeling fulfilled, sounds like the howling of a loser to me.
As I was troubled by their persistent bragging, my mother, unable to watch this any longer, stepped in to mediate.
Please, listen calmly. What Olivia said about living for her job and it going well is true.
What do you mean?
After this, they would find out how much I had changed over the past 10 years, leaving them at a loss for words. I am Olivia. I'm working as a nail technician in a nail salon at 29. My husband, James, is 3 years older and works for a building maintenance company. We met at work 3 years ago. Although the person in charge has changed now, my husband used to be responsible for the building that houses the nail salon where I work. Because of this, my husband and I would sometimes meet inside the building. The reason we started dating wasn't due to any dramatic incidents like being trapped together in a malfunctioning elevator or him finding me after a work mishap and offering comforting words. Instead, it was after he had approached me with a smile several times that he suddenly asked me out to dinner. So, the reason was essentially him hitting on me. Normally, I would ignore such advances. But the nail salon where I work is full of beautiful women. Despite that, I was flattered he approached me, so I decided to take him up on his flirtation this time.
Olivia, you're always smiling so beautifully. I see you sending off customers, and they always leave looking so happy. That means they trust you and are satisfied with your work, right?
I hope they feel that way.
I'm sure they do. Have you been a nail technician for long?
Since graduating from vocational school, so it's nearly 6 years now.
6 years, huh? That's a significant milestone. Are you thinking about the next step?
Not a step, but my ultimate goal is to open my own nail salon.
That's admirable. I've been silently working in building maintenance for 10 years. I need to take a page out of your book.
I think persisting in the same task daily is also commendable. Initially cautious, by the end of our meal, I was more relaxed, and the conversation with him flowed smoothly. Contrary to my expectations of frivolous talk from someone who picked me up, he engaged in serious discussions about work.
Would you like another drink, or maybe switch to a soft drink?
Moreover, he made sure I didn't drink too much and proactively cleared empty plates before I could.
It's getting late. Shouldn't we head home?
He also made sure to end our first dinner early, around 9, considering it was our first outing. However, finding him to be a good person made me wish the night hadn't ended so soon. This made me start to take an interest in him. Whenever I saw him in the building, I would hope he'd speak to me again, pausing nearby in anticipation. It felt like a school kid loitering around their crush, hoping for attention. My silent appeal seemed to work as he continued to approach me, leading to a successful relationship. After dating for 3 years, we decided to get married. Marrying meant we had to greet our parents. I had no worries about introducing my sincere husband, but I was anxious about other matters.
Welcome, come in. Dad's waiting in the living room.
Sorry for the intrusion.
At the entrance, my husband's greeting to my mother sounded a bit higher and quicker than usual. It seemed like he was a bit nervous. When I smirked from behind him, my mother saw my face, and her cheeks softened with a smile. However, as we followed my mother down the hall and stood in front of the living room door, my previously amused expression became tense, mirroring my husband's nervousness. I stepped forward with a prayer-like hope as my mother opened the door.
"Ah, you've come. Please have a seat."
My father, sitting on the living room sofa, gestured to the sofa in front of him. Relieved it was just my father in the living room, I let out a sigh of relief.
"Have you introduced James to Emma yet?"
I haven't even told her about the marriage yet. First is to inform you and Mom, right? My expression softened again. Emma is my sister, 6 years younger than me. I was worried that my parents might have called her over, which made me anxious. There's a reason I felt uneasy about my sister. Her character is too exuberant. Her exuberance began when she was in her second year of high school.
Hello, big sis. I've got something to ask.
What?
Where do high schoolers do it?
What? What are you talking about?
High schoolers can't get into love hotels, right? None of my friends know either.
That's not what you should be talking about.
It's okay. He's really my boyfriend.
That's not the point. Hearing your candid words shattered the innocent image I had of my sister from her younger days. After telling her I didn't know, I immediately called my mother. Has Emma changed recently? She called earlier, and she seemed quite different.
Well, Emma, she's got a university student boyfriend from her part-time job. I've been warning her, but she doesn't listen.
Indeed, she does seem the type not to listen. My mother seemed troubled about Emma. If she wouldn't listen to my mother, she likely wouldn't listen to me either. Yet, as her older sister, I felt I had to at least try. You've been coming home late every day. You're only 17, right? Can't you have a more wholesome relationship? Mom's worried about you.
What's this? A lecture? Stop it. I'm already 17, you know? Times have changed since you and Mom were young. Let me have my love life.
Sigh. So, you won't front to Mom and Dad if anything happens, right?
Don't worry. I won't.
She was old enough to know better. But earning her own money seemed to have given her the wrong impression. My parents and I, thinking too much admonition might only strengthen her defiance, kept our warnings to a minimum. Yet, Emma's exuberance didn't cease, and only intensified upon reaching university. Her social media was filled with photos in revealing outfits, always in mixed gender groups. Having a good time holding a bottle of liquor at some store. She shamelessly posted photos of herself hugging and kissing men. Each time a different guy. She seemed to be thoroughly enjoying her life. My parents and I hoped she would become more serious once she started working, eventually stopping our admonitions altogether. Since my sister herself prefers to be left alone, I've decided there's no need to intervene unnecessarily. That's why I didn't want to introduce her at such an important occasion as the introduction before marriage. With her absence, the introduction went smoothly without any issues. Now that we've greeted my parents, it was time to inform my sister about the marriage. Holding my phone, it felt heavier than usual as I dialed her number.
What? Big sis, you're getting married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, when will you let me meet your husband?
What?
It's not fair to only let mom and dad meet him. I want to meet your husband too. You're not planning to keep me from meeting him until the wedding, are you?
All right, all right. I was talked into making a promise to let my sister meet my husband. But introducing my husband to my sister is just natural, and they were bound to meet sooner or later anyway. So, I figured it's all good. However, I would come to regret not being more careful about when to arrange their meeting. 2 weeks after the marriage introduction, my husband and I met my sister at a cafe.
Wow, so this is the guy you're marrying. Handsome, and he seems serious too. You caught a good one.
Hey, that's a bit rude, isn't it?
Always so picky, aren't you? James, do you get troubled by her nagging? If anything, you can talk to me. I'll set my sister straight.
She doesn't nag. Olivia is a good person.
Huh? Is that so? So, James, what do you like about my sister?
Enough already. That concluded the marriage announcement to my sister. On the way home, I hesitantly asked my husband about his impression of her. Were you bothered by all her prying?
She's lively and seems like a good kid. She wasn't as bad as I was led to believe.
Maybe she's calmed down a bit now that she's working. By the age of 23, my sister had become a working adult and had moved on from wearing revealing clothes. Though she was a bit presumptuous, she refrained from saying anything vulgar. It was a relief that my husband's impression of her wasn't as bad as I had feared. A few months after informing my sister about the marriage, with the uncertainty resolved, our wedding preparations went smoothly, and we got married. My face was constantly relaxed in our blissful newlywed life. However, that happy phase was already starting to wane. Will you be home late again today?
Yay, I think I'll be home late again today.
I left the house before my husband, feeling lonely from the morning. As soon as I stepped out, the door slammed shut behind me, and I heard the loud click of the lock. Despite being newlyweds, our days began like this. My husband rarely had to work overtime, and I worked late hours at the nail salon. I had imagined a life where my husband would warmly welcome me home. But now, when I return from work, my husband isn't there, and I find myself taking off my shoes in a dark entrance. This is far from the newlywed life I had imagined. However, it seems this late return is only temporary.
Someone quit suddenly, so I have to fill in no matter what.
But are you okay working so late all the time?
It's just until we find someone new. And there are people who work much more overtime than me. If I can get home before the date changes, it doesn't even count as overtime.
Despite the increased workload, I felt reassured seeing him talk about it with a smile. It didn't seem to bother him. Since he's working hard, I couldn't ask him to come home early. I decided to pray that his company would hire someone new as soon as possible, Yet, 3 months passed, and his return remained late. Moreover, he started working on weekends too. His days off are Saturdays and Sundays, and I work on weekends, so even without his weekend work, we couldn't spend time together. But with the continuous overtime, and now weekend work, I was worried about his health. Are you sure you're okay with all this work and no rest?
Huh? My health? It's fine, really.
He was as energetic as ever. Despite the late returns and weekend work, he didn't seem stressed. The thought of infidelity briefly crossed my mind. But we had just gotten married. It was impossible for him to have an affair so soon into our marriage. I felt guilty for even suspecting him. Another 3 months went by. His late returns persisted. The thought of infidelity began to occur more frequently. However, I kept dismissing it, believing he wouldn't do such a thing. For about half a year, I've been deceiving myself, but an incident that forced me to confront the possibility of his infidelity happened. An emergency closure next Saturday, I muttered, holding a notice at work. The building that housed the nail salon where I work needed repairs, requiring us to close for the day. If he didn't have to work that weekend, we could spend the day together for the first time in a while. Excited, I went home and waited for his return. Working this Saturday too.
Yes, why?
When he came home, I immediately asked about his schedule, only to find out he was indeed working. My excitement turned into disappointment.
Why?
Just because. No particular reason. Although disappointed, I quickly thought of something positive and decided not to tell him about the temporary closure. My spirits lifted again as I put away his work clothes. The following Saturday, I'll head out first, then.
All right, have a good day.
Pretending to go to work as usual, I left the house. Exiting the house, the door slammed shut, and I could hear the lock clicking into place. After leaving, I spent some time at a cafe, then went to the supermarket to buy ingredients, and returned home before noon. All right, let's do this. Rolling up my sleeves, I started prepping for cooking in the absence of my husband. The ingredients I bought were extravagant, and the dish I planned to make was both time-consuming and labor-intensive. I thought of surprising my husband, who is always busy with work, with my cooking. I imagined his shock, thinking I was at work. I rhythmically chopped the vegetables. About an hour into cooking, I heard the front door unlock and open. It seemed my husband had come home unexpectedly, throwing me off. For a moment, I didn't know what to do except stop cooking and try to be silent. Weekend work didn't guarantee a late return. I regretted not confirming his return time, chastising myself silently.
Let's go straight to the bedroom.
Again. What about taking a bath?
Using the bath would make it harder to keep it a secret, wouldn't it?
I could hear my husband's voice from the entrance. But he wasn't alone. A woman's voice. Moreover, I recognized the woman's voice. There's no mistaking it, as it's a family member. The voice belonged to my sister. The conversation I overheard between my husband and my sister at the entrance almost confirmed their affair. Yet, part of me still hoped it was a misunderstanding.
Oh well, it can't be helped.
My husband and sister didn't come toward the kitchen. Instead, they went into a bedroom located midway down the hallway. They didn't realize I was there, as I was being very quiet and had muted any sound, so it seems they didn't notice me. Careful not to make any noise, I silently moved towards the bedroom. Mixed feelings of wanting and not wanting to know the truth made it hard for me to move forward. Finally reaching the bedroom door, I listened in on their conversation.
You're going to divorce her, right? When?
Wait till a year has passed. It'll be easier to say it was due to incompatible lifestyles or personalities.
But you initially said 6 months. I've been waiting for half a year based on your word.
Half a year in, her excitement about the marriage hadn't faded. Divorcing so soon after the wedding would look bad, don't you think? Just wait a little longer.
So, no matter what, you'll divorce her after a year, right?
This was no misunderstanding. Despite the door, their conversation was clear. My husband planned to divorce me, and my sister had been waiting for our divorce for half a year. They must have been involved even before we got married. That's why I didn't want to introduce her. Realizing the affair, I thought it wise to gather more evidence before confronting them. Yet, anger isn't easily controlled. Driven by emotion, I flung the door open with such force it could have broken and confronted them. What's the meaning of this conversation?
What? Big sis?
Why are you here?
My sister was sitting on the bed I shared with my husband. Both looked as if they'd seen a ghost, their eyes wide with shock. However, within seconds, as they grasped the situation, they started to say things I hadn't anticipated.
Seems like you heard everything.
Now James can run away. This actually works out in my favor.
They appeared defiant, sporting eerie smiles. Defiant people are strong, and there's nothing scarier than that. I experienced this firsthand.
You heard us, right? So, divorce me.
What? I was taken aback by my husband's words, my body freezing like stone. It wasn't just the demand for a divorce that shocked me. I was shocked that, in this situation, they calmly presented me with a divorce.
We're serious about each other. It's just that God made a mistake in the order He introduced James to us sisters.
James, you feel the same.
Of course I do. You're 29 and already an old lady, but Emma is only 23. You might be pretty for an old lady, but you can't beat the beauty of youth, right?
Is that it? Looks, Emma, you're okay with being chosen for your looks.
Being praised for my looks as a woman is a good thing, isn't it? You might say looks shouldn't decide, but everyone has their own values. I'm happy to be praised for my looks, especially being called prettier than you. Who works in the beauty industry?
It would have been great if you had actually opened your nail salon. Nail businesses have a profit margin of over 90%, right? If it were successful, you'd be rich. Then, even as an old lady, you might have seemed attractive because of your income. But in the 3 years we've been together, nearing 30, you've done nothing.
I do nails for my clients. Stop belittling my job satisfaction. Were you always this obsessed with money?
Money is important, right? I work at my company because it has less overtime. You'd have been perfect if you were rich, too. Disappointing.
I've just started working, so my salary is low, but I learn more than a vocational school graduate. I have a university degree and work for a corporation, younger than you. I'm an upgrade from you.
Being with Emma is clearly better. So, let's break up.
Disgust and nausea overwhelmed me as I looked at my sister, still sitting on our marital bed. and my husband earnestly asking for a divorce. As Emma said, everyone has their values. Using money or looks as criteria for a marriage partner isn't necessarily bad. However, it's clear that my sister's act of stealing my husband was wrong. Likewise, my husband who easily followed my sister is equally to blame. Fine, let's divorce.
Yes. Thank you, big sis.
Emma's expression was like a child being given candy. Unlike the past, her smile now only brought me anger. Divorce is fine, but you'll be paying for the affair.
Affair? What are you talking about?
What? You two are having an affair, right?
We were dating, but we haven't been physical yet, haha. If we did that while I'm married, I'd have to pay alimony.
But I heard you talking about the bath, and that you've been together for 6 months.
You must have misheard. We haven't had a physical relationship. If you claim we had an affair, you need to prove it. Did you record our conversation? Have any photos of us entering a hotel?
My husband ostentatiously took Emma's hand. He has a triumphant look on his face, as if to say seeing this much isn't enough to prove an affair. I was speechless. I didn't want alimony. I just wanted them to feel some pain. If I couldn't get alimony, it didn't matter. But his smug expression made me regret not gathering evidence. I didn't want to see them together, let alone catch them in the act. If they were having an affair, I wanted a divorce as soon as possible. That's why I confronted them. From the start, it was as if I was destined to lose this battle.
What's wrong? Your face and eyes are all red.
Won't you say something?
As my resentment towards them bubbled up, I didn't know how to respond, and tears began to fill my eyes. Not wanting them to see me cry, I ran out of the bedroom and left the house. Thus, my marriage ended before even a year had passed. Completely defeated by my husband and sister, I quit my job in shock and returned to my parents' home. After explaining the situation, my parents were furious, and my sister was disowned. This means my sister and I won't have to see each other's faces at our parents' home anymore. It means I can live there with peace of mind. 10 years after the divorce, I was still at my parents' house. After 10 years, the wounds from the divorce have surely healed. I can only vaguely remember that day now. Since I'm almost forgetting about it, it would be fine to move out, but my parents have turned 70. Therefore, without being asked, I just decided to stay at home as a single person, without remarrying. As if to reopen the wounds that had healed over these years, my sister contacted my mother for the first time in 10 years.
Emma called, asking if it's okay for her to come home for childbirth. What do you think?
What do you mean?
It's her second child. The first one is still small, and it seems quite tough.
Maybe she thinks it's about time to come back home after 10 years.
I told her I'd get back to her, but what should we do?
Why not? Let her come. As I replied with a mischievous smile, my mother looked at me with a somewhat exasperated expression. It seemed like a sign from her to do as I please. It's like God has given me the opportunity to let out the vengeful feelings that I couldn't explode 10 years ago. 3 days after my mother called my sister, she came home.
I've returned.
My sister came back, so I went to greet her at the entrance. Although I was supposed to hate even seeing her face, my steps were light. Welcome back. It's been 10 years.
What? You've been living at home since the divorce?
Yes, That's right. Not only my sister came home, but also my ex-husband and their child. The child must be around first grade. Maybe feeling uneasy in a strange place. The child was holding both of my ex-husband's hands. It was a cute sight. Perhaps, if the child wasn't my sister and my ex-husband's, I might have found the child even cuter. Looking at my sister, my gaze was drawn to her big belly. Then, I inadvertently made a face as if thinking marriage might not be so bad after all.
So, you've been living at home all this time, which means you're still single, right? Sorry for flaunting our happiness like this. Oh, that's right. Give us a wedding gift. Celebrate the fact that we're having a child.
Don't be so harsh. But man, you've aged. You've become quite the old lady. You're 6 years older than Emma, so you're 39 this year. Look at the difference between you and Emma. Breaking up was the right decision.
My sister rubbed her enlarged belly, and my ex-husband patted the child's head, flaunting their happiness. Also, as they thought my parents weren't there, they said whatever they wanted, thinking it was just me. It's as if the continuation of that day 10 years ago is happening right now. However, I don't really envy the sight of my sister and her husband. I've come to think that marriage isn't so great after the incident 10 years ago. Even if you do that, I won't feel bitter.
Don't put on a brave face.
I'm not putting on a brave face. Everyone has their own values, right? My values have changed, and I've decided to live for my work instead of getting married or having children. My work is going well now, so I'm very fulfilled.
It would be nice if you could just honestly say you're envious. You, a nail technician, saying your work is going well, fulfilled. It sounds like the howling of a loser.
I truly don't envy my sister and her husband. I believe there are as many forms of happiness as there are people, but my sister and her husband, who are convinced that getting married and having a family is happiness, keep flaunting their happiness. As I wondered how to explain so they would understand, my mother, seeing the situation, came out.
Oh, Mom, long time no see.
Did you hear our conversation just now? It's not like that. This is, like being shy because we met for the first time in 10 years or something.
Thinking that my mother heard their conversation with me, my sister and her ex-husband started making excuses in a panic. My mother spoke to my sister and her husband as if to admonish them.
Please calm down and listen. What Olivia said about living for her work and it going well is true.
What? What do you mean?
Olivia, she started her own nail salon and it's doing well.
What? Is that true?
Yes, it's true. Now she owns 3 nail salons. She's also running an eyelash extension salon a bit and dealing with beauty products.
And her annual income is?
It's over $200,000, I guess.
What the heck? You used to say nails weren't about making money, but for the clients. In the end, you're just making a giant profit from it. It's over $200,000.
Don't say such unpleasant things. I opened the second and third stores because the first one did well, and I wanted more people to enjoy nail art. I started the eyelash extensions and beauty products due to high demand from customers. The increase in annual income was a result of that, not because I expanded the scale with money in mind.
I can't believe it. My sister became rich from nails.
It seemed beyond their imagination that I had become a nail salon owner, as my sister and her husband were at a loss for words. For me now, making customers happy with my nail art is the greatest joy. This fact, conveyed by my mother's assistants, seemed to finally make my sister and her husband understand that I genuinely do not envy marriage or childbirth. It was time for conversations not suitable for children's ears. Thinking the talk would continue, my mother took my sister's child further inside the house. My mother really provides the best assist. Now, I can beat my sister and her husband without holding back. By the way, you said you'd earn more than me with your college degree, right? How much are you making now? My sister couldn't say anything back, and just rubbed her belly to distract herself. Feeling good, I decided to be a bit mean, as if taking revenge for 10 years ago. What's wrong? I mentioned my income. Shouldn't you answer when asked?
I'm part-time, so about $10,000.
Part-time? So, you quit your company job. With part-time income, you can't surpass mine. How about you? Are you still working in building maintenance?
Yo, still at the same company. About $35,000 a year.
What? Your income hasn't changed much from 10 years ago. Weren't you supposed to learn from my ambition? My sister stopped rubbing her belly and answered in a voice that seemed to mutter in frustration. And my ex-husband, too, looked down at the ground as if bowing, answering in a small, insecure voice that seemed about to vanish. Even showing off a big belly and a child, my values have changed, and they look down on me for being just a hired nail technician. But I opened my nail salon and became an owner. They completely failed in trying to take the upper hand over me. I think my words to my sister and her husband are mean, but they's resentment from being cheated on and divorced 10 years ago, so I hope this much is forgivable. I'm fully satisfied with having hit back at my sister and her husband's attempt to take the upper hand. However, there's been something on my mind for the past 10 years, and there's just one thing I really need to confirm. Hey, James, do you have any intention of coming back to me?
Huh?
If you can decide right now to divorce Emma and come back to me, I might consider reconciling. My ex-husband seemed to ponder for a moment. Seeing that expression, I quickly threw the next words. Just kidding, obviously. No need to take it so seriously. I didn't intend to mock my ex-husband. I just wanted to see the couple's reaction. Just as I didn't miss the moment my ex-husband pondered, I didn't miss my sister's expression either.
Why would you hesitate there? You were supposed to refuse right away.
No, of course I was going to refuse.
Don't lie. You were planning to leave me and the kids. We're miserable because you don't earn more.
Can you even say that? You said we'd work hard together when we got married, yet you quit your job so soon. Even if you switch jobs, you don't last, and now you're saying you'll work part-time for the rest of your life because of the pregnancy. What does that even mean? You, on the other hand, keep buying cosmetics and clothes without making much money.
My mean comment sparked a fight between my sister and her husband. I figured since my sister lived freely from high school to college, she wouldn't last in a strict corporate job. Moreover, from what I've heard from my ex-husband, it seems like my sister has a carefree attitude towards money, like a student who doesn't worry about living expenses or income. My ex-husband, on the other hand, showed his true nature when we divorced, wanting money easily. I thought that if I hinted at reconciliation, he would immediately agree. Both of their reactions aligned with my expectations, and it appears that the relationship between my sister and her husband was easily broken. I don't deny choosing a marriage partner based on looks or money. However, I wanted to check if choosing a spouse based on looks or money really leads to a successful marriage. It seems my sister and her husband had been harboring grievances against each other, and like a dam bursting, they began to complain and argue vehemently. While some couples may do well choosing partners based on looks or wealth, at least it doesn't seem to be the case for my sister and her husband. Their argument heated up, and their voices grew louder. If this continues, it might disturb the neighbors, and the children, who were taken to the back of the house, might hear them. I decided it was time for them to leave. If you're going to argue, could you please go home and do it there?
What? But I came back here for childbirth.
In this situation, it's fine by me, but I live in this house too. Besides, you might have forgotten, but when you two came to this house, you both bad-mouthed me, and Mom heard everything. In such an awkward atmosphere, do you really think you can calmly give birth to a healthy baby? My sister was silenced by my words, unable to retort. It seems I've won completely. The reason I had my sister and her husband come over was to make them understand that even after 10 years, there's no place for them in this house. I was also to make them feel the frustration I felt from them 10 years ago. Mom, Emma and her family are leaving. Having achieved my goal, I called out to my mom, who was in the back of the house, to bring out my sister and her husband's child. After they got reunited, my sister and her family trudged back home. Later on, my sister gave birth to their second child. With 2 kids, money becomes more necessary. It seems my sister and her husband started arguing even more about money. After letting out their grievances at our home, it seems they began to openly complain to each other without holding back. Eventually, my sister and her husband got divorced. The children were taken in by my sister, but she couldn't support them on a part-time job alone. Therefore, my sister's children ended up being taken care of at our parents' house for a while. This was a condition suggested by my ex-husband when my sister took custody of the children. The plan was to return the children once she started working and her life became stable, but it seems she quits jobs quickly, so it looks like it will be a long road ahead. My parents are happy to live with their grandchildren. The kids have grown attached to my parents, and I worry the younger one might start thinking of my mom as their mom. As for me, my work continues to go well, and I'm considering whether to open another new store.